Hello, and welcome to this episode of DIY Music from China. This is a tiny little junk guitar that I bought today for like $16. And I'm going to teach you what you generally need to do to make low-end instruments playable. So I'm going to run you through what I did on this one. Okay, so the biggest issue with most low-end instruments, and this has been true of soprano ukulele I got from Guitar Center, it's true of this instrument, and it's true of most instruments that are generally more like toys or just for tourists or something who aren't going to know the difference. They're always a few steps away from being playable, but it's some pretty simple stuff that you can learn to do on your own. So I'm just going to give you kind of a rundown on the basics. So in this case, this is about the scale of a soprano or concert ukulele. I'm thinking maybe a concert, I'm not sure. Anyways, but it was billed as a guitar. So it had 6 strings on it, and the neck is far too narrow for that to be frettable by anyone with reasonably sized fingers. So you have to assume it's either for a child to just beat on or whatever. And the string gauges on it didn't make any sense either. So you can see there's 6 tuners on this headstock, and I'm only using 4 of them at the moment, because what I did was I put new notches in the nut in order to just use 4 of the strings and tune it to ukulele tuning. Now I have the lower bow string, so it's not actually ukulele tuning, but actually could put one of the higher strings on here and do the re-entrant ukulele tuning, where this is the highest string and it's like 2½ steps above this one. 2 steps below, actually. Yeah. Anyways, so the biggest issue with most of these instruments is intonation. Okay, so what intonation is, for those of you who aren't familiar, is from the nut to the bridge is the vibrating length of the open string. Okay, and then at the 12th fret, which is right here on this instrument, it's the last fret it has, at the 12th fret, it should be the same note as the open string, but an octave higher. So you can hear that's in tune with itself. When an instrument doesn't have correct intonation, it's not in tune with itself, and when you play the 12, it won't be the same note as the open string. It'll sound more like, or something like that. It'll either be sharp or flat. Okay, so this instrument had this tailpiece mounted here, and it had the bridge all the way up here. Clearly no one even tried on this one, so I guess it was just for looks, because that was a solid, 3 inches out of position, so clearly the math wasn't even done. But fortunately, as you can see, I barely snuck the bridge in there on the top of the instrument. So it's a little quiet, a little trebly, because the bridge shouldn't be this far back from a tonal point of view, but because I'm using it as more of a ukulele in this case, it's okay. It doesn't make that big of a difference to the sound, because the strings are all so high. So what I did was I took this tailpiece, unscrewed it from here, and moved it around to the back. So I mounted it 90 degrees to how it originally was, so that I could take the bridge and put it where it needed to be for the 12th fret to be in tune with the open string. And that is correct intonation on the 12th fret, and if you have more frets, the 24 also is in tune with the open string. And you can use a tuner to be really exact about this, or you can just make sure that it sounds right to your ear, either way. So that's the biggest issue with most cheap instruments. If you can fix the intonation, then you're going to be most of the way there. From that point, like, these are direct tuners. They're not geared, so it's 1-to-1 like a violin or cello. So I would replace these if this thing gets home. I'd replace them with geared guitar tuners, or geared ukulele tuners. They're pretty much interchangeable. And what I could do is pull all the frets and then put a new fingerboard on with frets in a different scale so that I can get this bridge back to where it should be, and that would improve the tonality of it. But in this case, I just wanted to quickly hack mod it to be playable while I'm here in China, so I could play on the tourist bus, because, you know, I'm fidgety and I like it. So anyway, yeah. So, amount of distance between the strings, it had 6, changed it to 4 so that it is appropriate for the width of the neck, fixed the intonation, changed the string gauges to line up with the notes that I wanted to tune it to, which is ukulele tuning, and yeah, so for $15 I have basically a playable little ukulele guitar hybrid. And there are also fretting issues with this. The 12th fret is very high on the treble side, so that either needs to be tapped in with a hammer or filed down or sanded down on that side to fix that. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyways, so that's this episode of DIY Music from China. If you like this, please subscribe, share, like, all that cool stuff. Thank you very much. And 再见.